Well, hello and welcome. I'm Miss Heard with Miss Heard Song Lyrics Podcast. We're in Season 6, Episode 294. The Miss Heard lyric is, "My life is brilliant. My love is pure. I saw a ninja. Of that I'm sure." And then the correct lyrics is, "My life is brilliant. My love is pure. I saw an angel. Of that I'm sure." If you haven't guessed it, it's You're Beautiful by James Blunt. And yeah, it sounds like he's singing about a ninja. Well, let's first start it. What is a ninja? I think we all have some preconceived notions of what it is, but I looked it up online and it shows that a ninja was a spy and infiltrator in pre-modern Japan. And the functions of a ninja include siege, infiltration, ambush, reconnaissance, espionage, deception, and later bodyguarding. They may have existed as early as the 12th century, but there's little evidence that they were assassins, which I always assumed they were also assassins. So now you know. So it's not about a ninja, it's about an angel, and we'll go into it. And even James Blunt says this is kind of a creepy song. I agree. So You're Beautiful is a song by English songwriter and singer James Blunt. It was also written by Blunt, Sasha Scarbeck, and Amanda Ghost for Blunt's debut album back in 2004. Wow, 21 years ago. It was called Back to Bedlam and was released as the third single of the album in 2005. He was born James Hilliard Blunt, but it's spelled B-L-O-U-N-T, but we know him as B-L-U-N-T, no O, and I'll go on a little bit later why he did that change. He was born in 1974, back on February 22nd, so he is now what? 51 as of this year. He is an English singer-songwriter, like I said, musician, and not only is he known for this song, You're Beautiful, but also Goodbye, My Lover. The interesting thing I didn't know about is earlier in his life, he was a British Army captain after the aftermath of the Kosovo War, and he was also involved in the British refusal to engage Russian troops at Pristina Airport. So that's something I didn't know. So then he decided to leave the army, and he rose to fame in 2004 with, of course, the debut album Back to Bedlam with his two singles, You're Beautiful and Goodbye, My Lover. He actually has sold over 12 million copies worldwide by December of 2009. He topped many charts. Again, we'll go into that in a bit. And You're Beautiful reached #1 in 13 countries, including the UK and the US. And Back to Bedlam was the best-selling album of the early 2000s in the UK, as is one of the best-selling albums in UK chart history in 2018. So a lot to be said. But let's start way back in the beginning when Mr. Blunt was a youngin'. So he had piano and violin lessons as a child. I as well. Not the greatest at either one, but I can figure it out. But he was introduced to the electric guitar at age 14 at Harrow, so I'm assuming that's the school he went to, by a fellow student. And then he actually did a dissertation at the University of Bristol that was entitled The Commodification of Image, Production of a Pop Idol. So he's already kind of studying the whole thing about being a pop idol. So like I said, he was in the army. He wrote songs during that time off, and a backing vocalist and a songwriting collaborator suggested he contact Elton John's manager, Todd Innerland, as one does, just call Todd, right? With whom this individual used to share a house. That is very good for Mr. Blunt. Interland told Headquarters that he listened to Blunt's demo while driving home, and after hearing the track Goodbye, My Lover, he pulled over and called the mobile number written on the CD to set up a meeting, because that's how old it is, CD, back in the day. Like I said, Blunt left the British Army back in 2002 so he could pursue his musical career and started using the stage name James Blunt, in part to make it easier for others to spell, but also pronounce, because it is actually B-L-O-U-N-T, but it's pronounced like how he's changed it, Blunt, B-L-U-N-T. And it's pronounced the same way, and it remains his legal last name, so something to know about that. And after James Blunt left the army, he signed on with EMI music producer and to 21st Artist Management. A recording contract was hard for him to get, but in a bit you'll find out how he finally gets it. And a lot of it was because executives were saying his posh speaking voice was a barrier in class-divided Britain, so they were saying that was actually not going to help him instead of helping him. And then famous Linda Perry comes in and swoops him up by launching her own label, Custard Records, in the early 2003s, heard his promotional tape while visiting London, and also then saw him perform live at the South by Southwest Musical Festival. And then she was like, all right, I'm making an offer. So she did it that same night after she saw him. And within a few days, he signed a record contract with her. And then a month later, he traveled to Los Angeles to meet famous producer Tom Rothrock. Why is this important? Because when he recorded Back to Bedlam in 2003 with Rothrock as producer in Conway Recording Studio at Rothrock's home studio in LA, it's a hard last name, it says a lot of R's. He played many instruments himself. And during the recording, he actually was living with actress Carrie Fisher, right? I'm like, what? What? Fisher also contributed naming the album, and he recorded the song Goodbye, My Lover in her bathroom. Back to Bedlam was then released in the UK in October 2004, so like 21 years ago. I was like, okay, wait a minute, I got to stop a minute, find out, how did James Blunt become friends enough with Carrie Fisher of many movies, but specifically we all know and love her of the Star Wars fame as Princess Leia, end up living in her home? So I found an article on the internet, thank God for the internet. It was in the Independent, that's the name of the paper, I guess, written by an Ellie Harrison back on May 27, 24, so just last year almost. It was titled, James Blunt Says Star Wars Bosses Put Pressure on Carrie Fisher to be Thin Before Her Death. I know it's a long one, but it catches you, right? Per the article, Blunt and Fisher met through mutual friends, and they struck up an unlikely bond. She ended up saying, hey, come live with her, and so he ended up moving into her Los Angeles home, where she and her mother, you know her, the famed singer, dancer, actress Debbie Reynolds, also lived. And that's where he recorded his first album, 2004's Back to Bedlam, while staying there. That's how they met, and that's why he lived with her. Apparently, Blunt had previously revealed he was with Princes Lei after the night before she was found unresponsive on a flight from London to Los Angeles. She died days later, and a toxicology report found that she had cocaine, heroin, MDMA, and methadone in her system. The article goes on to say, in Blunt's memoir, he previously wrote about how Fisher's daughter, Billie Lourd, blames him in part of her mother's death. This is what Blunt says. He says, Charlie, her best friend, confronted her more directly and told her she needed to quit drugs. He wrote, I took a different approach and did them with her, pretending to myself that I would guide her to redemption one day, just not today. And as a result, her daughter, Billie, blames me in part for her death and no longer speaks to me. Whoa. Okay, so now we know why Carrie Fisher is all involved in this, actually helping naming this album and doing other things with this album. But I want to kind of tell you about Linda Perry, because does that name ring a bell? Because she's the one that actually signed him finally. So she was born on April 15th, 1965. So literally, how funny that I've, of course, picked these episodes. And it's either coming to some close date, which today is the 14th I'm taping this of April, so a day before her birthday. All right. And she'll be 60. Oh, boy. Anyway, she's an American singer, songwriter, musician, and record producer. Amazing. She is the lead singer and primary songwriter of Four Non Blondes. Remember that 1993 hit, What's Going On? What's Up? It's what it's called. And apparently, I'm just going to add in there, every time I hear it in karaoke and live band karaoke, it's not done well, but people love to sing it. Anywho, she had since founded 2 record labels and composed and produced songs for other artists, which include Beautiful by Christina Aguilera, What Are You Waiting For by Gwen Stefani, and Get This Party Started by Pink. She also contributed to albums by Adele, Alicia Keys, and Courtney Love, as well as signing and distributing James Blunt in the United States. She was also inducted to the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2015. So she's a good person for him to hitch his star to, right? So back to the song. So newspapers have claimed that You're Beautiful, the song we're talking about, is about James' former girlfriend, which is her name, Dixie Chazé. I think that's how you say it. And she was a casting assistant for the Harry Potter's film, although Blunt says no and continues to deny this. Then back in 2006 on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Blunt said of the song, quote unquote, it's kind of miserable. It was about seeing my ex-girlfriend on the underground in London with her new man who I didn't know existed. She and I caught eyes and lived a lifetime in that moment, but didn't do anything about it and haven't seen each other since. So he's saying it's about an ex-girlfriend, but not that specific ex-girlfriend of Dixie Chazé. And according to Blunt, he wrote the lyrics of the song at home in just 2 minutes after meeting her. Blunt also recounts Ryan Adams' song called La Cienega Just Smiled, serving as an inspiration for the backing tracks. Haven't I told you, listeners, that every time I do a misheard song, like the ones that are like the most famous, were just written like within a day or recorded within a day or hours, or 1 take or 3 take. Again, here's another one, 2 minutes. He wrote it. He then finished the song with Sasha Skarbek in LA, with Amanda Ghost also credited as co-writer. Blunt said of the song, quote unquote, "It's always been portrayed as romantic, but it's actually a bit creepy. It's about a guy, aka me, who's high and stalking someone else's girlfriend on the subway, and then the stalker kills himself." There you go. Spoiler alert. Excuse me. Woo! Excuse me. Made me sneeze. One more. All right. There are several versions of this song that I did not know. So there are several versions of the song that exist. One lyrical version has a vulgar word in it, and it's, "She could see my face, that I was fucking high." So in some versions, it has the F word. And that was released on the Back to Bedlam and most of the You're Beautiful singles. But the radio edit obviously couldn't do that. So they replaced that lyric with from the F word to, "She could see from my face that I was flying high, flying high." That's how they did it on the radio. And then acoustic, live, and DVD versions have also been released with that. However, because of the word in question, the album was given a parental advisory sticker. There you go. Then he had a second album in 2007 called All the Lost Souls, reached #1 in 12 countries. He went on to release a further 5 albums at about every 3 years. Some Kind of Trouble in 2010, Moon Landing in 2013, The Afterlove in 2017, Once Upon a Mind in 2019, and Who We Used to Be in 2023. As of 2013, like I mentioned earlier, he has sold over 20 million records worldwide. He's received several awards, including 2 Brit Awards, winning Best British Male back in 2006, 2 MTV Music Awards, and 2 Ivor Novello Awards, as well as receiving 5 Grammy Awards, 5 Grammy Award nominations, and an honorary doctorate of music in 2016 from the University of Bristol. In the United Kingdom and Australia, the song reached #1, the one we're talking about today, You're Beautiful, and #2, respectively. When released in Canada and US, it reached #1 on both charts and received widespread airplay, which I remember it was always on. And then in 2006, the song won the Ivor Novello Award for the song won an Ivor Novello Award for airplay. The song sold about 625,000 copies in the UK, and as stated by the official charts company, and by October 2012, over 3 million in the US, where it remains Blunt's biggest hit to date and is only one to reach the top 40 of the US Billboard Hot 100. Have you seen the music video? I looked it up today. It was actually uploaded back on October 26, 2009, so 16 years ago this October. And it has a whopping right under 860 million views. It's at 859, 45, 314 views. So like I said, right under 900 million. And the music video for You're Beautiful was filmed on March 23rd, 2005 at Sacova Foradada in Portocola, Mallorca. Oh, it's a lot. And he was directed by Sam Brown and Robbie Ryan with Flynn Productions. When you watch it, he slowly removes upper portions of his clothing, and it looks like it's really cold. I don't know where he's at this point. There's a little bit of snow you can see falling. And then starts to put his personal belongings on the ground, his shoes, whatever's in his pockets. And while doing this, the seagulls circle overhead. So I don't know if that's foreboding or what. At the end of the video, he jumps off a cliff. I don't know if it's a cliff or if it's a boat. It looks like it'd be a big boat too. And falls into the water while he sings the lyrics, but it's time to face the truth. I will never be with you. Did you know that he had to do that jump twice and actually suffered a split lip in those jumps? So he had to do it all for the love of art, right? And interesting thing is, at least one writer's interpretation is that it shows Blunt taking his own life, perhaps following a Japanese tradition of removing one's shoes and contents of clothing prior to jumping from a great height. However, the director of the video stated it's a making up piece of footage, that the idea of the video is built around the last line where he says, "I'll never be with you," and the idea of completely forgetting about something, of getting rid of that emotion and moving on. And I think the video is sort of a visual manifestation of the emotion. Either way, I thought he was killing himself, because the way he says, "I'll never be with you," and end of creepiness. I learned a lot. We now know about his connection to Princess Leia, aka Carrie Fisher. She helped him not only have a place to stay, but helped him with the naming of the album. I also learned that he used to be in the Army, had no idea. So many things, and how his real spelling of blunt is Blount. If you have any great misheard song selections like this gem, you can send it to any of our social sites like Instagram, Facebook, or you can send me a good old-fashioned email at misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com. Till then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.